This is a disaster because Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage talks have already broken down before they even got started. Now, there's nothing more that millions of patriots around the country would love than to see the right-wing parties unite, come together, form a government, and then restore our borders and restore love for this great country. And the fear is that if they can't get their act together, then the establishment, the woke establishment, will either continue to mess up the show or even worse, get dragged further to the left by the far green, far right, far left nut job parties like the Greens. And so when Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe reached out to Nigel Farage, extending an olive branch to form or come together, loads of people were filled with so much anticipation. And now it seems like things are already breaking down because Nigel Farage has publicly attacked Rupert Lowe in a press conference, and Rupert Lowe has made some strong accusations about Nigel Farage, and he claims to bring the receipts. So we're going to see, what does this mean for the future of our country? But first, we're going to start off with Nigel's press conference before we see how Rupert Lowe responded. And I want you to pay attention, not just to what Nigel is saying, but to the accusations he's really making.
On the Rupert Lowe stuff, well, my understanding is that he had a bit of a fallout last week with the Conservatives, who, he had been working quite closely with for some time. He said that he had a deal with the Conservatives, and Kemi Badenoch said they had an arrangement. I don't know what that was. My understanding is there was a bit of a fallout. Now, look, I mean, if you want to do a political deal with somebody, you would contact them privately and not do a 12-minute video. That said, I did actually reach out back yesterday to him. I did say, look, should we have a call? I haven't heard back yet.
Pay attention to that part because that's going to be really relevant at the end of the video.
So I don't know what the sincerity of this is, but it seemed to me that he was sort of, more than anything, perhaps putting out this gesture, saying, look, I'm the good guy, Nigel's the bad guy. Well, that's not the case. If you look at my history, in politics over the last few years, I am prepared to do things and make sacrifices if I believe it's in the national interest. I certainly did that in 2019, and I would do whatever I could for us to have a sane centre-right alliance that beat Labour at the next general election. But
this is very strategic, by the way, and we're going to show at the end what he's really highlighting with all of this.
I don't ditch my friends. I don't ditch my allies. Whether that's Suella Braverman or Posh George, I do not ditch people because somebody else wants me to. And
if you're not sure what he's referring to there, one of the points in Rupert Lowe's 5 points that reform must commit to was to commit to having no ex-former Conservatives in their cabinet. And Reform made a big song and dance about being able to bring people like Suella Braverman over to the party. So that would be a very hard pill for them to swallow.
Irony in this, which is that 2 years ago, Rupert Lowe said what a fantastic job Jenrick, Braverman and Kruger were doing inside the Conservative Party. And, unlike Chris Philp, who failed completely, but now wants to sort of forget it, in the case of Braverman and Jenrick, they resigned from their positions in their frustration that the government wouldn't get a grip. So that would not be a part of a negotiation.
He didn't mention, though, that Robert Jenrick was the genius behind the asylum hotel accommodation, like using hotels as accommodation. So, a bit of political amnesia there.
Broader terms, look, you could see a situation where Restore, without the hope of winning anything outside Great Yarmouth, I mean, literally without a hope of winning a single seat in the country, could do us great harm. And I think online you will see a lot of Restore potential voters now beginning to worry about the impact that might have. So look, I'll finalise that by saying, if it was the offer of a deal, it came in a very unusual way. I have responded to it, potentially, with an open mind, as I would, but I'm certainly not going to be ditching people that I view to be allies and a great asset.
Now, there's something specific that he said that Rupert Lowe has said was not just mistaken, but was actually a flat-out lie. And we're going to come to that. But I want you to notice a couple of things, 3 key things that was said there. First, he began by talking about Rupert Lowe's fallout with the Conservatives. Apparently, they were cooking up some political deal which fell apart. And now, what's he communicating when he says that? he's not just narrating news, he's essentially hinting at the fact that this is somebody who cannot make deals. Like, this is somebody who has broken down with the Conservatives. And so he's showing that Rupert Lowe is probably a divisive or destructive man. And that's a frame that if this deal doesn't go through, if there is no Reform Restore alliance, he'll be able to point at and say, look, it wasn't me. You know, he wherever he goes, he's not able to form alliances. The second thing he highlighted was how the public nature of the announcement, of the invitation. And shortly after that, saying, you know, it's a bit odd. If you're trying to reach out to someone, shouldn't you do it behind closed doors? And now I understand that, you know, thinking maybe it might have been good to reach out directly before coming public. But then he immediately questioned the sincerity of it. So Nigel Farage is like, you know, I don't, was it sincere? I don't know. And that's essentially hinting at maybe this is just a bit of showmanship from Rupert Lowe. So again, like, if the deal doesn't come through, he can point at it and say they were never going to make a deal with us. You know, they had all these strong expectations, no negotiation room, and ultimately it wasn't sincere. And the final thing was when he talked about how Rupert Lowe praised some of the Conservatives from a few years ago and now doesn't want them in the party, essentially painting Rupert Lowe like a hypocrite. And so when you hear this press conference, it's very clear that you've not got two people who are, you know, discussing and debating the key policy issues. You've got two men at the head of these parties, at the head of big movements that fundamentally dislike each other, or at least Nigel Farage fundamentally dislikes Rupert Lowe, and we'll see Rupert Lowe's response soon. But it's crazy that we're not even able to actually discuss the 5 policy points right now. The 5 policy points that Rupert Lowe wanted Nigel Farage and Reform to commit to: mass deportation of illegal migrants, including women and children. Now, let me know in the comments which ones you agree with and which ones you disagree with. Tough rules on legal migration, so a ban on halal, kosher slaughter, the burqa. And it's crazy because one of the reasons why Zia Yusuf actually stepped down from Reform all that time ago as chairman is because somebody posted that Reform would ban the burqa, and he got his knickers in a twist and stepped down. So again, we'll see how that goes down with Farage's party. A referendum on the death penalty, in particular because of what's come out of the grooming gang scandal, the grooming gangs report, which is hideous. And then people like Axel Rudakopana, the Stockport stabber, for example. Those, I mean, I for one, am fully 100% in favor of that. Why should they be taking taxpayer money in prisons for the crimes that they've done? Welfare cuts, and then that last one, excluding former Tory ministers from their cabinet. Now, let me know in the comments which ones you agree with, but we're not even able to really discuss these points because no conversation on policy has happened. So far, it's literally just been a clash of some really big egos. And this brings us to Rupert Lowe's response, right? So Rupert Lowe, essentially, I'm just going to read a little bit from this for you and then tell you what I think this means for the future of Britain. So Rupert Lowe says, I do not want to make private conversations public, but Farage has done so at a national press conference. Here's the bit. He said to me yesterday, shall we have a call? Sadly, that is just a lie. Yesterday at 10:30, Nigel messaged me saying the following 3 words: we'll call later, evidence below. And now if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you see a screenshot which says, we'll call later. So will we see a united right? Well, Rupert Lowe said at the end of his post that the offer still remains open to Nigel and to Reform. So it seems like the ball is really still in Nigel Farage's court as to whether he wants to open negotiations. And I think these will ultimately come down to negotiations, right? Anybody who knows in business, you put an offer on the table, you're expecting to barter a bit, to negotiate a little bit. But I don't even think this is necessarily just about Nigel and Rupert Lowe, because maybe in the immediate future, to get past this current stalemate, Nigel or Rupert would have to in some way find a way to work together. But if that doesn't happen, that won't stop the patriotic sentiment that is growing in this country, which is that we need unity. Just think about it. Some of the biggest events that have taken place on British soil in the past few years have been the Unite the Kingdom rallies that have literally brought people from all over the country, from different parts of the political spectrum, because they want to see a unity around Britain and a united fight against the common enemy of the woke establishment that is destroying our nation. And if it becomes really clear over time that the division is actually hurting those chances, which it very well could, more by-elections, more MP seats up for grabs, and if the split vote between, patriots at Reform and Restore continue to cause problems, eventually the leaders of those parties will have to make a decision. And it may be the case that the leaders of those parties, if they're actually in the way of this unity, of this coalition, may find themselves fighting for their own places as well. So what's more important isn't actually just the characters between Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe. I think what is most important is that the continued patriotic sentiment for a united country that's united against wokeism, liberalism, against radical Islam, against mass immigration, against these globalist institutions that stop us from controlling our borders, then we will see things start to shift. But ultimately, one thing that this fiasco teaches us is that you can never fully put your trust in man. Because whenever you have two people, you have egos. And when you have egos, you have conflict. This is why, as much as we want to see a patriotic right-wing government in power, ultimately, we have to place our trust in someone who never lets us down. And in my belief, that is the God that built this great nation on the Christian principles and foundations that we love and enjoy. One of the things that we have to fight for as patriots is our ability to continue to speak freely and to see Lawrence Fox brilliantly destroy the Oxford Union, standing up for free speech. Check out the video on your screen. I know you'll be blessed by it. I'll see you there. Peace and blessings.